Hey gamers, Maniac here with GameAccess.net. I've been loving playing games like Spider-Man on my PlayStation 4. However, I've hit myself a bit of a brick wall. The stock PlayStation 4 Pro that I bought back when it launched only has a 1 terabyte drive, and over the course of the year that I've been using it, that drive has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller because I've been putting more and more data on it that I simply cannot delete. Time for an upgrade, don't you think? And we're going to be upgrading a PlayStation 4 Pro, and we're going to show you how to do it. Now, with this procedure that we're going to do, we are going to make sure that I lose absolutely nothing in this process. I've got a lot of data on there that cannot be replaced, cannot be backed up. Particularly, I have the PT demo, and that cannot be re-downloaded despite what the system tells you. If you have it on your PlayStation, you cannot get it back if you delete it. So we're going to basically try to do this upgrade without losing any data whatsoever. How do you do this? Well, first things first, you're going to need the new drive. You're going to need your PlayStation 4 Pro. You're going to need a USB stick with at least probably I would say 2 to 4 gigs of internal storage. Some type of USB external drive. Take your formatted USB 3 drive and plug it into one of the USB ports on the front of the PS4. There we go. Alright, now we can see that the drive is connecting. And it's connected. Blinking very nice. Once you're in the settings menu, go to the system menu. And then go to backup and restore right here. As you can see here, once I selected the backup option, I am telling it to back up everything. My themes, my captures, my save data, and of course all of my applications. Settings have to be backed up anyway. It's telling me how much free space is going to be left on the drive after I do the backup, but I don't care. I'm only going to do this once. Hit next. It'll list you today's date, the name of the backup, and the name of your PlayStation. That's basically it. It'll name you the PlayStation, today's date. It's a good name for a backup. And we're going to tell it to back up. Now, this is just the preparing to back up feature. What's going to happen is it's basically just going to set itself so that it will back up. And then it's going to do a system reset after this is all taken care of. So once this is started, have a Coke because this is going to take a while. The PS4 is going to restart. That's normal. It's going to power itself down completely. No, your PS4 is not broken. Eventually the television will click back on, the PlayStation will click back on, and you'll see this. Backing up, do not turn off the PS4. You're not going to need the controller plugged in or anything like that. It's not going to even try to do this, but basically what it has to do is it's going to take a while to prep all the data that it has to transfer before it starts the backup process. It's probably going to take a minute or two depending on how much data you have on there. And as you can see, I have a lot of data to transfer. Now, I did a prep on this not too long ago, and I determined that this usually takes around 5 or so hours for a full 1 gig hard drive, or just about a full 1 gig hard drive. Yeah, there is really no way to speed this up. You're just going to need to have the spare time to do it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let this go and move on to the next step. Thanks to the magic of editing. First thing we're going to need to do while you're doing the backup is put the PlayStation 4 system software on a USB drive. We got a 4 gigabyte USB drive here. It's a little bit older, but it should work fine for our purposes. We plugged in the USB drive to the computer just so that we could get this thing working. And as you can see here, the computer has already detected the drive when we inserted it, as yours will. First thing we gotta do is we gotta make sure that this is actually formatted properly. So we're gonna go to Properties. As you can see here, it's telling me that this drive is using a FAT32 file system, which is what we want. We need this to be in FAT32. If you're using a Mac, you should have a similar thing. If it's not FAT32, or if you'd like to reformat the drive, right-click on it, and then select Format from the drop-down menu. Choose FAT32 from the file system tablet. Call it whatever you want. And by default, it'll do high capacity. Tell it quick format, and then hit Start. Go to www.playstation.com and go to the Help menu here. We're going to have to head to System Update. Select PS4 System Update, and it'll tell you the current latest version of the PlayStation 4. Now, I know you'd be tempted to select that little Download Updates button right there. And if you did download that update and installed it, that is meant only for system upgrades. It's not meant for a clean installation. You'll get a big error when you try to boot from it. What you need to do is you need to click on this part right here. Do you want to perform a fresh install? Click on that. The instructions are basically going to be the same, but you'll need to download this version of the update. Now, how can you tell the difference between this version and the version that you'd get here? They're both named the exact same thing. Well, typically speaking, an upgrade version of a PS4 update is usually around 450 or so megabytes. That's how you know it's just an upgrade version. A full installation version on a new system is usually around 950 megabytes. So it's a bit bigger. That's typically what you want to look for. However, because Sony doesn't change the name, it's still PS4 update.pup. It's hard to tell if you have the correct firmware on your USB stick. However, I can tell you that if you know that your USB is in the right place and the data is being read and you're still getting an error, you probably have the wrong firmware. Once the drive has been formatted to the proper specification, we're going to need to do some stuff to it, but not too much. First thing you do is right-click and create a new folder. For you Mac users, you may have a different way you do this, but we'll just do this the simplest way. We're going to call the first folder in here PS4. That's step one. We're going to go into this folder, then we're going to create another folder inside the PS4 folder. Again, Mac users probably have their own procedure for this. We're going to call this one Update. But I had capitalized this, I'm sorry. There we go, Update, all caps. We're going to go into this folder. Now the file we just downloaded is right here. Got this from Sony's website just now. I'm going to copy it into this update folder. It's going to copy. The file has finished copying, as you can see. It's now on the USB stick. If we have any errors, it's not the end of the world. The system will tell us if we have any errors. But just make sure that before this is all done, you safely eject the drive, which we're going to do right now. Now everything's on here. Okay, after much waiting, we've got this list here with the time and date saying backup is now complete. Please restart. Resync your controller and hit OK. Now we have a clear backup. Well guys, that's it basically when it comes to the setup and prep for this. Stay tuned for part 2 where we're actually going to show you what to do afterwards.